Hello, friends, and welcome to today's episode. I'm honored you've chosen to spend this time with me. Criticism is an inevitable part of life, whether it comes from colleagues, friends, family, or even from within ourselves, and yet we often meet criticism with frustration, defensiveness, or even anger. Why is it that a few harsh words can so easily shake our confidence or throw us off balance? In Stoic philosophy, criticism is seen not as a threat, but as an opportunity, a chance to practice resilience, self-awareness, and inner calm. Today, I'll share with you 7 Stoic techniques to handle criticism gracefully. These aren't lofty ideals reserved for philosophers in togas. They're practical tools you can apply right away, wherever you are. So sit back, take a deep breath, and let's explore how to transform criticism into a pathway to greater strength and serenity. Technique 1. Separate what's in your control from what's not. In the Stoic school, understanding the boundary between what we can control and what we cannot is nothing less than the foundation of equanimity. When someone's words pierce us, it's because we've allowed them into the citadel of our inner life. But as Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By drawing a firm line, this is mine to govern, and this is not, we reclaim authority over our emotional realm. Imagine you're standing on a shoreline, a wave of criticism crashes against you. If you attempt to hold the wave back, to wrestle it into submission, you'll be exhausted and ultimately fail. But if you stand immovably, rooted in your ground, the wave will pass. What lies outside your control? Others' judgments, the tone they choose, the hidden biases behind their words is the tumultuous sea. What you can control is your stance, your attention, your interpretation, and your subsequent actions. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, counsels himself again and again, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. In practice, this means that when criticism arrives, whether it be a colleague's curt feedback or a friend's offhand remark, you pause and ask, which part of this is my concern? Is it the content of the input, perhaps a genuine point about clarity in your presentation? Or is it the critic's emotional undercurrent, which may reflect their stress rather than any real flaw in you? When you internalize this distinction, you transform criticism into a source of insight. Suppose you receive a comment that your writing is too dry. You focus on the germ of truth. Maybe your tone could be warmer. That's within your control. You determine how to adjust your phrasing, how to invite more emotion into your prose. Meanwhile, you let go of the sting you felt in your heart, the blow of perceived judgment which belongs to the critic's realm, not yours. Seneca offers us another way to see this separation. He invites us to view external events as a visitor, not as a permanent resident. Criticism then arrives at your door, you greet it courteously, learn what it has to teach, and then you kindly show it out. You need not cling to its anger or its praise. It is simply passing through, emotionally. This practice is liberating. You feel the surge of tension when feedback lands. You acknowledge it. Here is my body's reaction. Here is my mind's discomfort. And then you gently redirect your focus. You breathe in, naming the sensation. This is anger, this is hurt, and you breathe out, naming your choice. I release judgment. I choose clarity. Each breath becomes an act of sovereignty over your inner world. In daily life, you can strengthen this skill with a simple ritual. When criticism comes, write down 2 columns, control and no control. Under control, list actionable insights. Under no control, list the critic's tone, the circumstance, the timing, anything that lies outside your power. This practice hones your discernment, reinforcing the truth that your peace depends on tending only to that which you can govern. By steadfastly distinguishing between what you can influence and what you cannot, you stand secure against the ebb and flow of opinion. As Epictetus assures us, your happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. When you live by this principle, criticism no longer wields unwanted power over your spirit. Instead, it becomes a wise teacher guiding you toward ever greater self-mastery. Technique 2. View criticism as objective feedback. In Stoicism, Criticism is not a personal assault, but rather a set of data points, neutral observations about your words, actions, or character. Picture yourself as a scientist in a laboratory. Each critique is a test result, neither praising nor condemning you, simply revealing what is. Epictetus insists, "For it is in your power to withdraw into yourself whenever you choose." And by treating criticism as external information, you maintain the sovereign calm of your inner citadel. What, then, distinguishes objective feedback from the noise of judgment? First, recognize that a critic's tone, timing, or choice of words often reflects their state of mind, stress, bias, or even envy, not an absolute truth about you. Seneca writes, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." By consciously listening for the substance beneath the syntax, we sift the valuable insight from the emotional residue. When a colleague says, "Your report lacks depth," notice your first impulse, perhaps a surge of defensiveness. Instead of reacting, pause. Label your reaction without judgment. "I hear surprise and discomfort rising in me." Then turn your attention outward. What precisely underlies the critique? Ask clarifying questions. Could you point to the section you felt was too superficial? In doing so, you transform critique into a dialogue of discovery. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, dared himself to embrace criticism as a pathway to improvement. "If someone can show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." Let his words guide you when feedback strikes a nerve. Remind yourself that truth is your ally, not your enemy. By valuing truth above comfort, you open yourself to growth. Emotionally, viewing criticism as objective feedback liberates you from the twin perils of pride and self-doubt. Pride tells you that any criticism is wrong. Self-doubt tells you that any criticism is right. Stoicism walks the middle way, neither automatic acceptance nor reflexive rejection. Instead, you become a discerning judge of the evidence. You ask, does this feedback align with my values and goals? Is there a pattern here? To practice, adopt a simple ritual. After each critique session, whether a performance review, a peer discussion, or casual conversation, take 5 minutes alone with paper. Write down exactly what was said, without commentary. Then read it, as if it were someone else's feedback. What themes emerge? Which points can you transform into concrete action steps? Perhaps you notice that multiple people comment on clarity. You decide to outline your next presentation more explicitly. Perhaps the criticism seems unfounded. You choose to let it pass, secure in your integrity. This process not only sharpens your skills, but also reinforces your emotional resilience. With each critique converted into clear, objective notes, you distance yourself from the sting of judgment. You affirm the Stoic promise, difficulty shows what men are, as Epictetus taught. Each difficulty, each piece of criticism, is an opportunity to reveal and refine your character. Finally, invite gratitude into your response. Thank your critic either in words or in silence for providing information you might not have otherwise seen. Gratitude doesn't mean you accept every point. It simply acknowledges that you have received something of value. In doing so, you honor the Stoic ideal of treating every event, pleasant or painful, as fuel for your inner fire. By transforming criticism into objective feedback, you shift from victimhood to mastery. You cultivate a mind that is clear, calm, and ever ready to learn. And in that space of unshakable equanimity, you find not only strength but wisdom and, ultimately, freedom. Technique 3. Practice Premeditatio. Malorum, anticipation of challenges. In Stoicism, the exercise of Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils, is more than mere mental rehearsal. It is a clarifying lantern that illuminates the contours of our fears and transforms anxiety into preparedness. Epictetus urges us, you ought not to show surprise at anything which happens in life, because every challenge we imagine has roots in the human condition. When we deliberately envision possible criticisms, harsh words, skeptical glances, the sting of frustration, we strip them of their power to ambush us. We invite them into the light, study their shape, and thus deprive them of their capacity to paralyze us. Imagine you have a crucial presentation tomorrow. Instead of drifting into restless sleep, devote a few moments to Premeditatio Malorum. Close your eyes and picture the room, the faces of your colleagues, the hum of the projector, the expectant silence. Now see yourself stumbling on a key point. Notice the tightening in your chest. Hear the murmur of dissent. Feel the bitter taste of embarrassment. Hold this image with calm curiosity. Watch the sensations arise your racing heart, your shallow breath, and observe them as a dispassionate witness. Then imagine yourself pausing, inhaling deeply, and refocusing on your core message with steady eyes. You transition from crisis to control. This is the Stoic alchemy, turning fear into opportunity. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, writes, "Begin each day by telling yourself, 'Today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness, all of them due to the offender's ignorance of what is good or evil.'" Notice how he catalogs not only the challenges, but the motives behind them. Ignorance. By anticipating such behavior, we cultivate compassion alongside readiness. When that insolence appears, we remember it stems from confusion, not from a personal vendetta, and our anger softens before it even arises. Seneca echoes this sentiment. He robs present ills of their power, who has perceived their coming beforehand. There is deep calm in foreseeing and thus defanging our trials. Instead of waking in shock at a sharp critique or a sudden disagreement, we greet these moments like seasoned travelers, meeting familiar terrain. The unpleasant becomes expected, and the unexpected becomes less terrifying. Emotionally, this practice is akin to mapping the landscape of your soul, charting the peaks of confidence and the valleys of doubt before you set forth. You learn to sit with discomfort in advance, so that when real discomfort arrives, it feels less overwhelming. Each instance of premeditation is a small victory. You have seen the storm on the horizon and prepared your vessel accordingly. Practically, you can integrate Premeditatio Malorum into your morning routine or the quiet moments. Before any significant endeavor, use a journal. List the possible critical comments you might encounter, and beside each, note a Stoic response, perhaps a question for clarity or a silent affirmation of your purpose. Over time, these lists become mental templates you draw upon automatically. By embracing Premeditatio Malorum, you transform criticism from a sudden strike into a familiar guest, whose arrival you have long since anticipated. You train your mind to stand firm, to greet every challenge with calm inquiry rather than startled reaction. As Marcus Aurelius reminds himself and now reminds us all, external events lack intrinsic power. It is our judgments that give them life. Through forethought, you strip away that judgment before the event even occurs, and you walk forward into the day with the heart of a Stoic, unwavering, compassionate, and unafraid. Technique 4. Cultivate inner dialogue of self-encouragement. In our journey toward self-mastery, the most steadfast ally we can cultivate is the voice within the dialogue by which we interpret every event, every word, and every challenge. Stoicism teaches us that it is not external circumstances that disturb us, but the judgments we pass upon them. Epictetus reminds us, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. When criticism arrives, our inner critic often leaps to life, amplifying the sting of external remarks. To stand unshaken, we must learn to silence that harsh voice and replace it with one of encouragement. Imagine for a moment that your mind is a stage, and on it various actors deliver lines, some supportive, some demeaning. Which do you allow to take center stage? Marcus Aurelius warns, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If negativity dominates the script, our spirit will mirror that gloom. But if we consciously script our inner dialogue with affirming, kind language, we transform our emotional landscape. We shift from a performance of self-doubt to one of self-respect. Seneca offers us a powerful insight. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Our inner chatter can lead us down winding tunnels of what if. What if they were right? What if I fail? By cultivating a dialogue of self-encouragement, we turn on the lights in those tunnels. We break the spell of imagined calamity and anchor ourselves in present truth. I am capable. I am learning. I will act with integrity. How, then, do we foster this kinder inner voice? Begin with awareness. The next time criticism triggers a rush of discomfort, pause and ask yourself, What am I saying to myself right now? Name the thought. Perhaps it is I'm not good enough, or they must think less of me. Without judgment, acknowledge it, then deliberately speak back. That's just a thought, not a fact. I choose a different perspective. This practice, known to modern psychology as cognitive reframing, finds its roots in Stoic training of the mind. To deepen this habit, adopt a brief daily ritual each morning. Write in your journal one sentence of self-encouragement, something you genuinely need to hear. It might be, I am resilient in the face of challenge, or I learn and grow from every experience. Seeing these words on the page cements them in your consciousness. Over time, they become the default soundtrack of your mind. In moments of acute stress, lean into a Stoic mantra. I control my thoughts. Breathe in slowly, affirming to yourself, I am the guardian of my mind. Breathe out, releasing any intrusive self-doubt. With each cycle, you reinforce the boundary between your inner champion and your inner critic. Emotionally, this practice cultivates compassion for yourself. As Epictetus taught, you have power over your mind. Why squander it by nurturing destructive thoughts? Instead, treat your inner dialogue as you would a loyal friend. Offer encouragement, acknowledge effort, and celebrate progress, no matter how small. When that supportive voice grows strong, external criticism loses its capacity to wound you deeply. You stand firm, buoyed by your conviction. Ultimately, the Stoic path is one of empowerment. By mastering our internal chatter, we command our emotional responses rather than being ruled by them. Cultivating an inner dialogue of self-encouragement doesn't deny reality or eliminate challenges. It simply ensures that when criticism comes, we meet it with clarity, courage, and an unshakable faith in our capacity to learn and thrive. Technique 5. Remember the impermanence of opinions. In the vast theater of human interaction, opinions are but fleeting actors on a stage, entering and exiting without permanence. Stoicism invites us to see them for what they are: transient echoes of a moment, not immutable truths. As Marcus Aurelius reflects in his Meditations, do not suppose, then, that what is uttered by the vulgar crowd or any single member of it is true. Recognizing the impermanence of opinions is a profound practice that frees us from needless suffering and anchors us in the steadiness of our values. When someone offers criticism, whether harsh or well-intentioned, our first instinct is to grip it tightly, as though their words carry eternal weight. Yet Seneca reminds us, let not your mind run on what you lack as much as on what you have already. Opinions, like passing clouds, cast shadows that soon drift away. Today's thunderous disapproval can become tomorrow's forgotten breeze. By internalizing this truth, we cultivate detachment, not indifference to others, but resilience against their capricious judgments. Imagine standing on a hill, watching storms roll across the valley below. The wind howls, lightning flashes, the rain pelts the earth, and yet, on that hilltop, you remain dry and unmoved. This is the perspective Stoicism offers. When criticism descends, a colleague's offhand remark or a stranger's social media jab, you observe it without merging with it. You say to yourself, these words come and go like rain. They do not define who I am. Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Part of our reaction involves awareness of how quickly public opinion shifts. History abounds with figures once vilified who later became celebrated, condescending critics who later humbled themselves or faded into obscurity. Opinions are fallible, colored by personal biases, cultural trends, and fleeting emotions. To invest them with lasting significance is to chain ourselves to the whims of the crowd. Emotionally, this practice brings a lightness of being. When someone criticizes you, instead of feeling wounded, you might pause and find a small smile, thinking, this too shall pass. Your heart, freed from the lure of external approval, beats with its steady rhythm. You find space to breathe, to reflect, to choose what, if anything, in this opinion merits my attention. If an opinion highlights a real area for growth, perhaps multiple people have noted the same flaw, you honor it as valuable feedback. If not, you let it dissipate like mist at sunrise. A practical method to reinforce this perspective is to timestamp criticisms. Keep a simple log, note the date, the comment, and your initial reaction. Revisit these entries after a week or a month. you will likely find that most criticisms have faded in emotional power, their details blurred or forgotten. This empirical exercise trains your mind to trust its innate resilience. In our daily lives, when the loud chatter of judgment rises, you might anchor yourself with a brief mantra: opinions ebb and flow. I stand firm. Let this thought be your companion as you navigate conversations, presentations, or creative endeavors. With each repetition, you reinforce the Stoic promise that your worth rests not on the ever-shifting chorus of voices, but on your commitment to virtue and growth. Ultimately, remembering the impermanence of opinions turns criticism into a passing cloud rather than an unbreakable cage. You honor your inner strength, cultivated through self-knowledge and consistent practice, and you recognize that the truest measure lies within. In this steadfast self-possession, you find a freedom that no external opinion can ever truly touch. Technique 6. Seek the intent behind the words. In Stoicism, every word uttered by another carries two layers: the literal content and the hidden intent behind it. When we feel the sharp edge of criticism, it often cuts deepest because we assume the worst, that the speaker meant to harm us. Yet Epictetus teaches, be not angry that you cannot make others as you wish them to be, since you cannot make yourself as you wish to be. Discourses. By seeking the intent behind the words, we shift from a posture of defensiveness to one of understanding, acknowledging that often the critic's motive is not personal attack, but something more nuanced. Consider a colleague who says, your report was sloppy. The immediate reaction may be hurt or indignation. They think I'm incompetent. But if you pause and inquire, either silently or by asking a gentle question, you may discover a different intention. Perhaps they're pressed by a looming deadline and need clarity in your work to meet their objectives. Or maybe they worry about the team's reputation and want to avoid any missteps. By looking beneath the surface, you reframe criticism as a form of concern rather than condemnation. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us, whenever you are offended at someone's fault, turn to yourself and consider what similar fault you have. Here, he points out that our perception of intent is often colored by our insecurities. If we fear being seen as careless, we will hear sloppiness where none was meant. By reflecting on our triggers, those vulnerabilities we each carry, we open the door to compassion for both ourselves and the critic. Seneca offers further guidance. Wherever there is a human being, there's an opportunity for kindness. In practical terms, when criticism lands, rather than recoiling, lean in with kindness. Ask, could you tell me more about your concern? Or what impact did my report have on your work? Such questions serve two purposes. They clarify the speaker's true intent, and they demonstrate your willingness to collaborate. Often, this disarms negativity and transforms the exchange into a constructive dialogue. Emotionally, this shift from assumption to inquiry dissolves tension. You replace the narrative of "they're attacking me" with "they're trying to communicate a need." Your heart steadies, your mind clears, and you choose a response grounded in curiosity rather than in fear. You reclaim agency over your emotional state, aligning with the Stoic ideal that neither praise nor blame should control you. To internalize this practice, integrate a simple pause and ponder ritual. When criticism arises, mentally bracket the comment and take 3 deep breaths. On the first breath, acknowledge your felt reaction. I feel hurt. On the second, recognize the critic's possible intention. They may be trying to improve the outcome. On the third, formulate a calm question or statement. Thank you for pointing that out. Could you help me understand what you need? This micro practice turns an instinctive defense into a moment of deliberate engagement. Over time, you'll find that many criticisms contain kernels of constructive intent masked by frustration, poor timing, or awkward phrasing. By seeking intent, you filter out emotional static and focus on the underlying message, often a call for mutual support or better alignment. As Marcus Aurelius writes, receive without pride, let go without attachment. You receive criticism with humility, you investigate its purpose with openness, and you let go of any residual sting once you've gleaned its value. In mastering this technique, you embody a core Stoic truth: the world's events and others. Words are neither good nor bad until you assign them meaning. By choosing to see criticism as a signal of intent rather than a weapon, You stand firm in equanimity, guided by clarity and inner strength. Technique 7. Respond with equanimity and action. In Stoicism, equanimity is not passive resignation, but an active state of calm readiness. When criticism lands, we have a choice to react impulsively or to respond with measured clarity and purposeful action. Epictetus reminds us it's not events that disturb people, it's their judgments about them. By holding our judgments lightly, we create space to choose a response that honors our inner stability and aligns with our values. Imagine you've just received a pointed critique in a team meeting. Your heart pounds and your mind races with defensive comebacks. Instead of charging ahead, pause. Feel the sensation of tension in your chest. Acknowledge it silently. Here's my impulse to lash out. And then, as Marcus Aurelius counsels in his Meditations, bear in mind how fast things change. Recognize that this moment of discomfort is both fleeting and manageable. In that brief interval, you reclaim authority over your response. Seneca teaches, we should every night call ourselves to an account. What infirmity have I mastered today? What passions opposed? What temptation resisted? Use this practice in real time. After the critique, ask yourself, which passion rose within me? Anger, shame, defensiveness? Naming the emotion diffuses its energy. Then ask, what action can I take that reflects my commitment to virtue and growth? Perhaps you thank the speaker for their honesty, or request specific examples to better understand their viewpoint. This transforms a potentially volatile exchange into a dialogue of mutual respect. Responding with equanimity does not mean suppressing your feelings, it means witnessing them. Without being swept away, you might say, I appreciate your feedback. Your tone steady, your gaze firm but open. The simple acknowledgement disarms confrontation and signals your readiness to engage constructively. In a quieter setting, follow up with concrete steps. Outline how you'll address valid points or propose a plan to revisit the issue. By converting critique into a roadmap for improvement, you demonstrate the Stoic principle that obstacles become opportunities. Emotionally, this approach cultivates resilience. Each time you choose clarity over reaction, you strengthen the neural pathways of composure. You learn that criticism need not erode your self-worth. Instead, it can sharpen your skills and deepen your self-understanding. As Epictetus asserts, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Your ideal self responds to adversity with grace and purpose. On a practical level, embed this technique into your workflow. After any critical exchange, spend a moment jotting down 2 things. 1. Your emotional response and how you managed it. 2. The actionable insight you intend to pursue. This creates a feedback loop of self-awareness and continuous improvement. Over time, equanimity and action become your default, not exceptions. In the grand tapestry of life, criticism is but one thread. The Stoics teach us to hold that thread with care, neither clutching it in fear nor discarding it in haste. As Marcus Aurelius reminds himself, if someone can show me that what I think or do is wrong, I will happily change, for I seek the truth. When you respond with calm intention and deliberate action, you honor both your integrity and your journey toward wisdom. In that moment, you stand unshaken, a living testament to the enduring power of Stoic practice. Criticism, when met with wisdom, becomes an ally in your journey toward self-mastery. As you leave today's episode, I encourage you to pick one of these techniques to practice over the next week. Maybe when you next receive feedback, you'll pause and ask, what can I learn here? Or perhaps you'll catch your inner voice and gently remind it to be kind. Thank you for listening, for engaging your mind, and for choosing to grow. If you found value in these insights, please like this episode, share it with friends who might benefit, and subscribe so we can continue this journey together. Leave a comment below with your experiences, which technique resonated most, or how criticism has shaped your path. Until next time, stay mindful, stay steady, and remember, true strength comes from within. Take care, and may your mind remain unshaken by the storms of opinion.